again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial for you. And today we have another pattern by David Browning. Now, the last one that we did, it was a triangular shawl. This one is rectangular, or square for that matter. It's the Lacy corner-to-corner rectangle shawl slash wrap. But of course, you could make it a blanket as well. Any sort of square or rectangular dimensions you want, you can achieve with this pattern. It's light, it's lacy, and it's fabulous. And the written pattern is available. I'm going to put that in the links down below. And so if you want to share support, go visit that link and purchase the pattern. Now, for this particular piece, I used a size J 6mm hook, and I was using Lion Brand's Ice Cream Big Scoop yarn. And for my entire project, I used almost an entire one of these skeins, and I had about this much left over. And for those of you that are not familiar, it's 1,117 yards approximately. It's a weight of 3, and it is acrylic. Gotta love that. And the colorway is Neapolitan. And this video is not sponsored, but I always like to let you guys know what it is that I use in case if you want to duplicate the results. And I really love how this came out because you start at one corner and you work your way out, and then, like a traditional corner to corner, eventually you find yourself not wanting to go any wider than this, and then you just keep going in a vertical fashion. Then you start doing your decreases to finish up your project. It's very, very simple. It works up really fast, and I hope you like it because I love it. So with that being said, let's get started. Alrighty, so like I said, I'm going to be using a size J 6mm hook, and I'm going to be using the leftovers from the previous skein. Now, of course, you can use whatever yarn or hook size works best for you. Personally, I would gauge on, a larger hook size than you would normally use for the weight of yarn. So we're going to start with a slip knot and a chaining of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a double crochet into that first chain. Now I'm also going to put a link to the triangular shawl pattern, which is essentially the same with a couple of differences, but I'm going to put that down below as well. So this is actually the first row, believe it or not. So for row 2, chain up 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and double crochet into that 5th chain from the hook once again. And then turn the bottom like so and slip stitch into that loop that we had made previously for row 1. So slip stitch into there. So now I've got 2, but we need another one right over here. So chain up 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and double crochet into that same loop. So we went from 1 loop to 2 loops, and basically we're going to be growing this triangle out for the width of our piece. So for the next row, chain up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, double crochet into the 5th chain from the hook, turn the work, slip stitch into that first loop here, slip stitch, and chain up 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, double crochet into the same loop, slip stitch into the next loop, chain up 4, and double crochet into that same loop. And so now we've got 3 loops at the top, 1, 2, and 3. And so basically you just keep repeating this 1 row repeat over and over and over until one of your sides, either this side or this side, same difference, is the width that you want your project to be. I'm going to do a couple more rows so that we have something more substantial to work with. Then I'm going to show you how you can do a vertical straight section for your piece if you want to do a rectangular piece like a blanket or like a wrap. All right, let's keep going for a bit, shall we? Okay, so we're on row 4. So let's again chain up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Double crochet into the 5th chain from the hook. Turn the work. Slip stitch into this first loop here. Chain up 4. Double crochet into the same loop. Slip stitch into the next loop. Chain up 4. Double crochet into the same loop. Slip stitch into the next loop. Chain up 4. Double crochet into the same loop. Now you can tell how many rows we've done based on the number of loops at the top. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's do another row or 2 just so that we have a nice width to work with. So chain up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Double crochet into that 5th chain from the hook, excuse me. Turn the work. Slip stitch into that first loop. Chain up 4. Double into the same loop. Slip stitch into the next loop. Chain up 4. Double into the same loop. Slip stitch into the next loop. Pull out some yarn as needed. Okay, chain up 4. Double into the same loop. Slip stitch into the next loop. Chain up 4. And double into the same loop. So now we've got 5. Let's do one more. Let's do one more row for good measure. So chain up 5. Double into the 5th chain from the hook. Turn the work. Slip stitch into that first loop. Chain up 4. Double into the same loop. Slip stitch into the next loop. Chain up 4. Double into the same loop. Slip stitch into the next loop. Chain up 4. Double into the same loop. Slip stitch into the next loop. Chain up 4. Double into the same loop. And slip stitch into the next loop. Chain up 4. And double into the same loop. So we now have a total of 6 loops at the top. And so let's just, let's just go with the idea that this is going to be the width of our blanket, our wrap, our what have you. And this is the same as this down here. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to continue on by increasing on one side and decreasing on the other side. And that is going to give us a vertical, sort of a vertical equilibrium where we're growing on one, shrinking on the other, and that evens itself out so that we're just going in a straight line. Okay, so let us continue with our vertical growth. Alrighty. All right, so before we actually get started on the verticality, if you will, I'm going to take a stitch marker and place it at one end. It's going to be this first loop on this side over here. I'm just going to put that stitch marker in there. You can use a safety pin, a scrap of yarn, what have you. Or just, if you have a better memory than me, you don't need that. So this is going to be our marker to sort of tell us that this is going to be the decreasing side. Okay, so over here, we're going to start our row just as we had before, and this is going to be the increase side. So chain up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, double crochet into the 5th chain from the hook, just like we have been, because this is the increase side. Turn the work. Now keep in mind, we had, pardon the tail here, sorry, we had a total of 6 of those loops at the top. Okay, you want to make sure that you maintain that number for the vertical part of your project. So after chaining 5 and double crocheting, slip stitch into that first loop, chain up 4, and double crochet into the same loop, slip stitch into the next loop, chain up 4, double crochet into the same loop, and slip stitch into the next loop, chain up 4, double crochet into the same loop, slip stitch into the next loop, chain up 4, double crochet into the same loop, slip stitch into the next loop, chain up 4, double crochet into the same loop, and we have reached the end of the road where we have our marker. So into this loop, just as we normally would, we're going to slip stitch into this loop, but we are not going to continue by doing our chaining up before and doing a double crochet into the same loop. Nope, this is where it ends. So now if you look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops at the top. That is exactly what we want. So let us continue on by chaining up 1. So after you do that slip stitch, chain up 1 and turn the work into this first loop here, slip stitch, chain up 4, double into the same loop, slip stitch into the next loop, chain up 4, double into the same loop, slip stitch into the next loop, chain up 4, double into the same loop, slip stitch into the next loop, chain up 4, double into the same loop, slip stitch into the next loop, chain up 4, double into the same loop, slip stitch into the next loop, chain up 4, and double into the same loop, because we want this side to keep growing up. And so you can see that on this edge, it's a little bit flat. Well, that's going to continue to grow up just as this one's growing up, but it's not getting any wider. So, you know what, let's do a couple more repeats of these 2 rows where we're growing on one side and shrinking on the other to make it more of an actual strip so that it will be a little bit more obvious what we're doing. Okay, so let's keep on keeping on. Okay, so for the repeat, going to chain up 5 because this is the increase side. Chain up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Double crochet into the 5th chain from the hook. Turn the work. Slip stitch into that first loop. Chain up 4. Double into the same loop. Slip stitch into the next loop. Chain up 4. Double into the same loop. Slip stitch into the next loop. Chain up 4. Double into the same loop. Slip stitch into the next loop. Chain up 4. Double into the same loop. Slip stitch into the next loop. And we are almost there because this is our flat edge. Well, this is the last loop, right? See, that's our last one right there. So going to chain up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Double into the same loop and slip stitch into the last loop. Now, what you could do is move your marker from this loop to that last one that we did over there. I'm going to leave this over here just for the time being. So slip stitch into that last loop, chain 1, and turn your work. Slip stitch into this loop here, chain up 4, double into the same loop, slip stitch into the next loop, chain up 4, double into the same loop, slip into the next loop, chain up 4, double into the same loop, slip into the next loop, chain 4, double in the loop, slip in the next, chain 4, double in the same, slip in the next, chain 4, double in the same. There you go. So you can see it's becoming a bit more pronounced. Okay. So that being said, I'm going to do just one more off camera, one more repeat off camera, I think. No, let's do it together. I like spending time with you guys. Gosh darn it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Double in that 5th chain. I just can't stay away. I love spending time with you guys. Okay, so slip in that next loop. Chain 4. Double. Slip in the next. Chain 4. double in the same, slip in the next. 2, 3, 4, double in the same loop, and slip in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4, double in the same, slip in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4, whoa, 3 and 4, double in the same, and slip in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4, double in the same, and oh, I went too far. Nope, see, it does happen. See, it probably would have helped if I had marked, moved my marker to where I currently am. See, that would have been the smart thing to do, wouldn't it? There we go, just scooting it on up. No harm, no foul. Okay, so as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We maintained our width, and we have continued to go up in a rectangular fashion. It's fabulous. So now, see, I left off where I'm at on the decrease side because I actually now want to show you how you can bring these corners together by decreasing on both sides. That way, you can finish it up. Now, one way of determining how to go about this, if you have a limited amount of yarn, okay? Now, this works especially well if you're doing a square, because say you have 2 balls of yarn. Well, use 1 ball for the increase, and then when you reach that width of using up an entire ball of yarn, then with the second ball of yarn, start in on the decrease. That way you won't run out. If, of course, you're doing a rectangle, it's a little bit more tricky to figure, but it is possible. So that being said, you know what? Let's go into the decrease so that we can make this into a squared up piece. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so now we're going to decrease on both sides. Now, the reason why I left off on this side is because I find it easier if you're already starting with a decrease, and then when you get to this end over here, we can continue on with the decrease. So I'm going to chain up 1, turn the work, slip stitch into that first loop, chain up 4, double into the same loop, slip stitch into the next loop, chain 4, double into the same loop, pull out some more yarn, because that's what we do. Okay, so I chain 4, double, slip stitch into the next loop, chain 4, and double into the same loop, slip stitch into the next loop, chain 4, double into the same loop. Okay, we've got 2 more loops left, so we're almost to the end here. So slip stitch into the next loop, chain 4, double into the same loop, and slip stitch into the next loop. But we are not, just as before, we are not going to then chain up 4 and double crochet into the same loop. Nope, because now we're decreasing on this side too. So this side is going to become flat, just as this side over here became flat, and they're going to come together at a point. So let's keep on keeping on. Going to, after doing our slip stitch, chain up 1, turn the work, and slip stitch into this first loop, chain 4, double in the same loop, slip stitch into the next loop, chain 4, double in the same, slip in the next, chain 4, double in the same, slip in the next. Okay, and we've got one more loop to go. So chain up 4, double in the same, and slip into this last one. So now we only have 4 because we decreased on both sides. Okay, so now keeping on in the same fashion, chain up 1, turn the work, slip stitch into that first loop, 1, 2, 3, 4, double into the same, slip in the next, 1, 2, 3, 4, double in the same, slip in the next, 1, 2, 3, 4, double in the same, and slip into the next. Okay, so now we've only got 3 loops left. It's going quick. All right, so chain up 1, turn the work, slip into that first loop, chain 4, double into the same loop, slip into the next loop, chain 4, double into the same loop, slip into this last loop. Now I've only got 2. Okay, almost there. Chain 1, turn the work, slip stitch into that first loop, chain 4, double into the same loop, and then slip into the next. And that actually is it. It ends very abruptly, but it works. It totally works, and I do so much love it. So when you lay it out, you can get rid of this marker here. When you lay it out, I'll put it on its side here. So you can see we started at this corner and we worked our way out, and then we started just going across or up, if you will, and then we started our decrease to the point. So you can make this piece whatever dimensions you want. You know, whether I said, you know, it's a square or a rectangle, absolutely fabulous. Okay. Okay, also in the pattern, David goes on to talk about how you can add a picot edge to your piece. Personally, I think it looks great without, for several reasons. For scarves and blankets and that sort of thing, typically I like an edge as it is. The picots are really nice. However, if you add picots around this particular piece, because the way that I made it, we have all of these diagonal lines of color. Now, if you're using, say, the same yarn and you do a border all the way around with picots, you're going to have a strip of color that's going to be the same going all the way down and all the way up. Me, personally, I'm not a big fan of that as far as the way that it looks. I think the concept is great, but only if you're using a quick change variegated yarn or a solid color yarn. But if you're using one that creates stripes like this, personally, I don't think it would work out very well. To each their own by all means, but the option is there in the pattern, just to let you guys know. But there you have it. So that is David Browning's Corner to Corner Lacy Rectangle. Really love it. I know I keep saying that, but I do because it's a great variation on a pattern that so many of us know and love. And variations are what makes the world go round, don't you think? Yes. So listen, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And if you did, please give a little thumbs up button down below. I appreciate your appreciation ever so much, as always. And also, of course, yes, if you want to support David, do visit that link in the description box down below, if you want to purchase his pattern. Also, of course, if you want to, you can leave me a super thanks. That would be most appreciated as well. Yes, every little bit helps and it's always welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. And you know what to do until next time. I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other. And I hope you have a really great day. Bye for now, everybody, and take care.